Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Utility Sports, and we're live again with more NBA draft or NBA free agency coverage. Excuse me. I'm so used to talking about the NBA draft that NBA free agency is kind of a slip up to me. Wasn't ready for it, but here we are now. We're back live again as promised after my 1 hour break off the channel after being live for almost 9 hours earlier. And I hope you guys didn't miss me too much. We are back now, and we've got the chat here on subscribers only mode. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel in case you want to leave a comment and you're not able to do so right now. It just means you'll have to hit the subscribe button. Again, completely free to you. It just takes a second of your time, so go ahead and do that, and then you can comment all you want. Mason, welcome to the stream. ATG Rico. Mark Jones is back as well. So thank you guys. Jabari Smith Jr. said, I'm glad that Stone gave Tate his well-deserved money. I am too. That was well-deserved and definitely a good contract, one that I think is definitely worth. Connor, welcome back, and Ryan as well. Welcome back to the stream. Glad to have you in here. Enrico, Preston, let's get it. Let's go, guys. Let's bring some of that energy here back for part 2 of the live stream today. Big J says, yep, yes, sir, your grind is real. It is. Never stop working here at Utility Sports. I hope you guys do appreciate all of that and more at the channel. We try really hard to bring good premium content for you guys. I hope you do enjoy. And again, I'm really excited about the NBA free agency, the period that we're working through right now. I think it's an awesome time of the year. It really is. So JaVale McGee goes to the Dallas Mavericks, and the Minnesota Timberwolves, as Jake O'Shea says, get Kyle Anderson or Slow-Mo. And I think those are two interesting signings. Mavericks get JaVale McGee on a 3-year deal. He has a player option for that 3rd year, which I'm not sure if I love the player option on that. But ultimately, pretty solid for Dallas, getting a center who could definitely play in that role. Cruz Cole says, thanks so much for all the content you put out there for us. Love your channel, man. And Ryan says, what if the boy Sheldon joined too hype? That would be crazy, wouldn't it? Hopefully you guys are enjoying the content here, though, at Utility Sports. Again, I'm super excited for everything we got going on. Enrico Preston says, I like Lonnie Walker, the deal to the Lakers. I think it's a pretty good one. He's a player that definitely can help that team. When you consider the fact that he, hasn't shot the ball super well throughout his career at this point, but he's athletic, he's young. I think those are some of the things that the Lakers were missing this past season. Lonnie Walker, definitely an upgrade on this roster compared to some of the players that they were playing last season. And I'm just excited in general for this free agency period. Let's go ahead, get that like up. Smash the like button if you are in here right now. And I'm super excited. Kyler says, what other bigger trades could you see happening outside of Kyrie and Kevin Durant? And that's where you get into uncharted territory. There's not a lot of bigger trades that I could see going down that include Kyrie, that don't include Kyrie and Kevin Durant. Honestly, the biggest one could be a Ben Simmons deal, maybe a Gobert trade. Those are the ones that make some sense to me. You look at what Ben Simmons is. If the Nets are willing to trade anybody, maybe Simmons gets rerouted without playing a game in Brooklyn. How crazy would that be? Ultimately, though, I think they hold on to him. And then you look at, Gobert. If he gets traded, that would be crazy. Otherwise, maybe we just see a Clint Capella trade. Jay Anderson says, as a Pistons fan, I am frustrated with the Marvin re-signing. I wouldn't be. Maybe a little bit of an overpay, but not the end of the world. I don't think giving Marvin another chance is really that bad of a situation. Gremlin says, JaVale McGee, Shaq didn't go, but like him for the Mavs. I do too. I liked him a lot when the Suns got him last summer. I thought he was going to really play up his value, and it clearly has done so with Dallas signing him to a 3-year deal. Definitely works out well. His reunion to Dallas makes a lot of sense. And ultimately, the Mavs are in a pretty good spot with that. And I do like the deal for the Timberwolves as well, getting Kyle Anderson here. Again, I haven't seen the exact dynamics on it. 2 years, $18 million. Yeah, that's genius for Minnesota. I think that's an easy win for Minnesota getting Slow-Mo. I think he's going to help that team a lot. He's a nice connector piece offensively. Kyler says, how do you feel about the Lou Dort deal? So I think everyone file in one by one. Yeah, we're working on it. Kyler said, how do you feel about the Lou Dort deal? I do think it's a little bit of an overpay. I do. But ultimately, at the end of the day as well, when you look at the current situation, just given the fact that, he's an ingrown player where, they really saw his development before their eyes. Every team needs a player like Lou Dort who, develops internally that ends up being a key component to that roster long term. I think even though it's a slight overpay, keeping him around is definitely really an awesome decision by that management, and I'm glad they did it. Cruz Cole said, thanks so much for all the content you put out there for us. Love your channel, man. Thank you so much again for that, Cruz. Appreciate it. Glad to have you in here. Here, Oliver says, if you were the Pistons GM, what free agent would you sign right now? Well, they just signed Kevin Knox. And this is going to sound a little counterintuitive. If I was running the Pistons right now, I would not sign anybody. And you might say, well, why? This is a good opportunity. You guys have some cap space. Go sign some players. I think the Pistons are in a spot where if they showcase a little bit more this next season, Cade Cunningham shows out, Jaden Ivey plays like I think he's going to, Jalen Duren maybe plays an impact. I think Alec Burks and Nerlens Noel can help that team win some games. Ultimately, they're in a spot where, I don't like the Kevin Knox signing either, but they're in a spot where they have cap space next season. They could move off of the Burks and Noel contracts and kind of use this as a showcase year of, hey, Detroit basketball is coming back around. And I feel really good about what's out there. And if you do that, you can convince some free agents to come. Does it mean your team's going to win a championship? No. And does it mean you're going to get way better this season if I don't sign any free agents? Probably not. But the whole point here in Detroit is the young talent. You build around the young talent. The young talent is what you showcase to the world. And you say, look, if we go out and sign a really good free agent next summer, whether that's LeBron, not that LeBron's going to go to Detroit, but, it's a strong free agency class next year. You wait for it. You say, okay, we're going to load up our money for that. Everyone's going to know that we're targeting somebody big, and we can kind of reevaluate what we need a year from now with our young guys playing a role here. And I think that's probably the best case scenario for Detroit is let Ivy, let Duren, let Cade be who they are, see what you need to complement those players, and then go from there. That was a good question, Oliver. Brandon says, let's go Raps, keep everyone nice and easily. Now, keep everyone nice, and now time to go after Seth Curry. Seth Curry would be a nice addition for that half-court offense. They need a player like him, even if they don't get him. Svi Mykhailiuk was supposed to be that. Obviously not quite the same. Gary Harris just re-signed with the Magic. What in the world? Yeah, I don't understand the whole we're going to keep all of our slightly older players around when you just won 22 games. I guess I just don't. I'm not from the same line of thinking as what Orlando is doing right now. Now, if they trade Gary Harris at the deadline, it makes more sense. But that's just my thought. Jay Anderson says, Ryan, in my opinion, I think that wouldn't give him $37 million, but that's my opinion. 37 is a little much. I do agree with that, but there's really not any risk. There's not really downside right now, just given where Detroit is currently at. M says, what's the percent chance that the Pacers get Ayton? Probably like 25%. Again, I'm not going to give a super high number for Ayton going anywhere because I think right now it's really split. Jay Anderson says Ayton to Detroit for 1 year. That's not happening. Josh Reyes says, do you see the Clippers trading PG, some draft picks, and maybe one more asset for Kevin Durant? No, they're not going to give up Paul George in a KD deal. If they're going to make a move for Kevin Durant, it's going to include other players, not Paul George, which I know sounds counterintuitive. Will the Nets take that? Nets don't really have leverage here. The Nets don't really get to decide what's fair value and what's not. Ultimately, if they think that's not the best trade, then they can trade him elsewhere. And the Clippers are going to say, yeah, we're going to keep our two superstars already and all of our depth then. And you don't really lose anything if you're the Clippers by not getting him. That's just kind of the reality. I really do like the Kyle Anderson signing for Minnesota, by the way. Cole says, I got beef with Chris Boucher. I'm not sure why, Cole, you got beef with Chris Boucher. I'm interested to hear about that. Kyler said, who do you see as the most realistic option for KD? I personally think it's Phoenix by a mile. I don't think 76ers or the Heat have the assets to give the Nets, as it is illegal for Miami to send Bam. For Phoenix, I mean, to be honest, I don't know if I would prefer having Ayton or Hero. I think Hero is in the same realm as Ayton. I honestly do. And that's not overhyping Hero. I think that's me being a little bit naturally lower on Ayton. I think Ayton is a little bit overrated. And I think like for Miami, if you can get Hero and a bunch of picks and maybe an Omer Yurtseven and Gabe Vincent and some of these other players who played decent roles for them, maybe you can get Martin out of them too. Like you at least have a fundamental core with someone who can score the basketball. Ayton, we don't know if he can really score the ball yet. We don't really know that. The Phoenix Suns have been way better when he hasn't been scoring it. Does he score to win? I know Tyler Hero does. That's what I know. Bella Pa says KD and Kyrie 480 and Russ plus. I see the idea here. I just ultimately don't think anything goes down. King J says to the Spurs, Vasilij Micic. Did that happen? I haven't seen anything on the Spurs, so I'll have to keep my eyes out on that. Raven says second or third tier center for the Raptors. Yeah, I think Andre Drummond's still a player to watch for Toronto. I like Drummond there quite a bit. I think he could be a valuable addition in terms of his rebounding. So, I know other fans don't like him as much. I understand why, but that's just my thought. Ryan says I like the KD to Phoenix. I think KD to Phoenix would be really good. It just comes down to, if you're getting Mikal Bridges, yes. If you're not getting Mikal Bridges, then I think the Miami Heat offer is really similar, honestly. Jay says Kyle Anderson signing is actually pretty good. Wolves, I agree. I like that a lot. Slow-mo's definitely a good addition. Chris is way too tall, Brian, with the little alien mode. Yeah, I get what you're saying there, Cole. I see you. Burn High Pixel says, where is Zach LaVine signing? He will re-sign with the Chicago Bulls. Vivon Daga says, can you talk about the JaVale McGee signing? I really like that for Dallas. I'm a Mavericks fan myself. Mavs needed more athleticism in the front court, and they got it big time this offseason. Christian Wood, JaVale McGee, two players who offer good length, good athleticism. Now, Wood leaves a little bit to be desired on the defensive side of the floor, but McGee's kind of the traditional rim running big that they need. He's going to at least compete with Dwight Powell for the starting job. I don't know if the Mavericks are done yet either. I think there's some more moves that they could look to make. Right now, they've really done a good job improving their depth, even while losing Jalen Brunson. Supposedly, reportedly, it seems like that's a done deal. So they're in a good spot right now with some of the other players that they brought in. I don't think this is a bad offseason for Dallas. I know a lot of people are going to make a bigger deal about the Jalen Brunson loss. I get it. But at the same time, at the price point, you just can't really afford to keep that around. So, Vivon, hopefully that answers your question. True Sports Live, thoughts on Toscano Anderson to the Lakers. That's a Lakers-type signing. Not terrible, but not really good. I honestly think it's just kind of a waste of time talking about JTA to the Lakers. I know a lot of people like JTA. I hope he finds success there, but I ultimately think he's a non-factor throughout this season. M says, let's find that again. M says, when, where, and for what will Brogdon get traded for? Probably not today. I think potentially to Dallas, and for probably Bertans and some low-level draft asset, some future first-round pick with some protections on it. Goran says Ayton owes half his next paycheck to Chris Paul. That's exactly what I'm saying, Goran, here too. Bismack Biyombo looked like a good NBA center again for certain times this season, and that's a huge thank you to Chris Paul. And I think Ayton is kind of in a similar boat, not that he's as bad as Bismack or anything like that, but do we know that he's a good build-around center? Do we really know that? And I don't think the answer to that is yes. Jay Anderson says, Lakers free agency grade so far, in my opinion, a B. I think given where they're at, they're doing a little bit better than that. I would say B+, maybe an A-. But the issue is, if you want to talk about them, their overall grade with the decision makings that have put them up until this free agency, it's like an F. Trading for Russell Westbrook was terrible. I said it the moment it happened. I said it months after it happened. I said it way before the season started last year. I've been saying it all the time that he does not fit with LeBron and Anthony Davis. And I think, everyone's starting to see that, which is good. BS Express says, I can't wait until the KD issue gets resolved so normal free agency can get back going. Yeah, the one thing is this free agency class is a little bit thinner to begin with, so it was always going to be a little bit slower, but I think definitely Kevin Durant has slowed it down even more so. Kyler says, I think Nets are asking for Ayton, Bridges, and Johnson along with picks. Nice young core for Nets with Simmons, Bridges, and Ayton. And Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson's really underrated. Throw him right into that group. He's near the same level of Bridges and Ayton. He's a little bit behind those two, but not much. He's a player that I think Phoenix would not want to part with. I really do believe that. And, honestly, with the whole situation here with Simmons, Bridges, and Ayton, that's good young core. Is it good enough to win? Probably not. You don't have a lead scorer. So they'd be solid. They'd have to definitely build still onto that team. But I get what they're asking for. But the issue, Kyler, too, is Phoenix doesn't have to give up everything to do it. There's a little bit of give and take here. The Nets really don't have that much leverage, honestly. Ryan, Yuda Dog says, why you got a Spurs fans hopes up with that thumbnail? Yeah, sorry about it, Spurs fans, but I had it planned already before the whole DeJounte Murray trade, and I just had to throw it in there. I had it planned, so sorry about that. Gary Bankston says, I don't think the Jazz need to trade Gobert. They need to trade Conley. I agree, and they need to trade Bogdanovich. They already traded Royce O'Neal. They need to blow up the rest of that team. Ryan here says, W. Sheldon. Thank you for that, Ryan. Appreciate you. Kyle says, have you heard the rumors about Miami submitting an offer to the Jets for Mitchell? Is it possible that deal gets done? I have heard that. I don't even think it's just a rumor. It's probably true, but it doesn't mean that Utah's going to act on that. I don't think a trade actually goes down. Cruz Cole says, JTA the next Bazemore. That's kind of what I'm getting at here. Like, it's going to be, mid-February, right after the trade deadline or something. And, if you're not super in tune with the NBA, you're going to turn that game on. You're going to go, wow, who's that guy there with the long last name for the Lakers? He's having an okay game. And then that's going to be his whole impact the entire season. I don't think Toscano Anderson's really going to move the needle too much. Splendid says, thoughts on Jimmy Butler, Rachel Nichols matchup. The two of them, really good chemistry. I'll leave it at that. M says, I think Ayton and Halliburton can be really good. The two of them would be nice together. I agree. Key King says, hey, Utility, what are your top 3 free agent signings so far? Number 1 would be Amir Coffey, 3 years, $11 million. I think that's a really nice budget signing. You get a good young player for 3 years on a really cheap deal. I think that's an automatic win. I think PJ Tucker to Philly is a solid signing. Now, he's a little bit older. You commit a lot of money to him over the next 3 years and at $33 million. But he's someone who wins. And Philly, if they're going to try and win around their players with Joel Embiid and James Harden, you need to make good moves. And PJ Tucker's a player like that. I also really liked for them I liked all of their signings up to this point, honestly. I like PJ Tucker. I like Trevlin Queen. I really like Daniil House at the biannual exception price point. Definitely, they've done a great job. Honestly, if you wanted to include all 3 of those as my 3 favorites, there's some legitimacy there to that. Now I think Kyle Anderson at 2 years, $19 million, or 2 years, $18 million, whatever the actual final dollar amount becomes. I think that's a good price point again for Minnesota. He's a player who can fit next to Cat. I think really secures their front court. At certain points this past year, they were relying on Josh Okogie or Jake Layman throughout some of the times where they had some injuries. Vanderbilt even is there. Like, I think Kyle Anderson's a pro's pro, and I think he's going to help him. Key Kings, that's a great question, and hopefully the 5 signings I gave you for my top 3 suffice for your question. Jackie Denson wants to know about any Cavs news. Nothing quite yet at this point for the Cavaliers. It's all going to hinge on Colin Sexton. I would expect more Cavs stuff tomorrow, Jackie. Jake says, as a Kings fan, I love the Monk signing. What's your thoughts? I like it as well. You're repairing the 2 Kentucky guards together in Monk and De'Aaron Fox, where, the two of them played really well together. And I think seeing that in Sacramento, probably a good signing. Raven says, could do worse than Bismack. He's tough and plays hard. Rather have him on the minimum than Ayton on a max. Yeah, and I agree with that as well, which is, I think Ayton on a max is just ridiculous. Delon Wright has agreed to a 2-year, $16 million deal with the Washington Wizards. That's a pretty rich deal there for Delon Wright. I'm not sure I'm a fan of that. Delon Wright always has this, though, where Delon Wright bounces around teams, then a team that's getting him is like, oh, this is a really valuable addition. Look at, he's had some near triple-double games, and he's been impactful. And then he's actually on your team, and you watch him really closely, and you're like, wow, what's this guy really doing for us? And you're not really sold on it by any stretch. And, that's kind of where we're at with Delon Wright. I don't like that for Washington. And I get that it's a depth thing behind Monte Morris. I understand, but $8 million a year for him, even though it's short term, I don't know if I love it. It's not a bad deal. It's not something that's going to, really destroy Washington by any means, but it's not something I would have personally done. And as you can tell, you can probably see I'm pretty pessimistic about a lot of signings and a lot of players, because I'm like, I would not want that. I would not do that. I wouldn't sign myself up for that. Talking about the 8 and max, I wouldn't sign myself up for that. That's for sure. Light Skin Disgrace says Ben Simmons is going to be like Will Smith on the last episode of Fresh Prince once training camp starts. Yeah, he's going to be all by himself. That's funny. And Brian K says Cam Thomas leading scorer. True. Yeah, Cam Thomas. He's a bucket getter. I like it. Oliver Zion says, Utility Sports, if you're the GM of the Nets, what assets would you get back from Kyrie and KD to rebuild the Nets? Would you rebuild around Ben Simmons? And I would not rebuild around Ben Simmons. Now, would I want Ben Simmons to be part of my team? Yes, but it's not like I'm rebuilding around him. I'm rebuilding with him on my roster more so. And if I'm trading, just given the fact that they don't have any picks, I would say that you need to get some players back, but you still want picks. So if Atlanta has an offer out there for me where I'm getting Capella and Collins and maybe Bogdanovich and maybe Herter in that, that's 4 solid players that are going to help me at least not be absolutely garbage that I could maybe trade off at later dates to get other assets. And if I can get a couple firsts from them or maybe some pick swaps, I would play around with that. I think that's kind of where I would look. And honestly, things, they never always play out the way you want. And I think Brooklyn's the perfect example of that. Jacob Gatto with the $2 donation. He said KD to Detroit. That would be crazy for the Pistons. Ultimately, I don't think it happens, but a huge thank you to you, Jacob. Really do appreciate the donation. We got the donation starting back up, guys. That's awesome to see. To go ahead and go on to what Josh said here. Mavs still make the conference finals with the additions they've made so far. The loss of Brunson won't hurt as much unless THJ gets hurt again. And that's the thing. Even if they don't make the conference finals, it's not like they were a lock to make it back with Brunson either. That's certain things just don't always play out the exact same way. But ultimately, that's kind of my thought there. Jay Anderson says Ayton for a sign and trade to Brooklyn for Kevin Durant. That would be kind of what the question would come out to. Jordan wants to know, I guess the Pacers front office went home early for the holiday weekend. Yeah, they're celebrating early, as you can tell. Ryan says Oliver got a bang question. He definitely did. Oliver's been asking some awesome ones. Alex says, are you going to be live tomorrow? The hope is yes in the morning. That is my current hope. Let's go ahead and smash that like button right now as well. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Splendid drops a W in the chat. Like to see that. Ryan Hillier says, yeah, Torrance knows ball, though, bro. Yes, Torrance knows basketball. Let's get some Torrance hype in the chat as well. That's his name. I'm glad that, Ryan, you were able to remember it. Kyler says, I'm kind of confused by the Knicks move so far. Seems they just want to make the play-in, to be honest. I think they're going to push. They're trying to push for further than that. The issue is it's hard to do that, and maybe they feel like Brunson can push them further than everyone else thinks. And sometimes they're right in certain moves. I don't necessarily think that's the one, but they're going to try. Bentley Crawford says, what team is Zach LaVine on? Nothing yet, but he'll end up playing for the Chicago Bulls next year. How long until KD gets traded? Nothing else will happen until then. Yeah, I see what you're saying. And probably, I still think a trade is possible tonight. I do, but we'll see. You never really know. Light Skin Disgrace says, is Patrick Williams and a deep dish pizza good return for Kevin Durant? That's pretty much what Chicago is going to be willing to offer. Deep dish pizza, maybe lifetime deep dish pizza. Now that's a package. That's something we could talk about. Calvin Cambridge says, trust the process. Hoping to get the 76ers involved on Kevin Durant. Kyler says, do you think Kyrie to the Lakers news is legit? And do you think it'll go down? I think it's legit. I think that there's some serious talks there going on for Russell Westbrook. And think about it, if the Nets want to stay legitimate, if the Nets want to stay solid, putting the keys in Russell Westbrook's pocket and saying, hey, you go drive the car, he does a pretty good job when he's the man. When he's the solo show, he makes it work. You have Ben Simmons to help defensively. You're going to have athleticism. They could build this team to go really fast and get to the rim. And that would be fun. I would enjoy that. Ryan says, cool, easily back up to 220 views. Yeah, we're going out here now. We got about 250 people live. Miles Bridges' situation is crazy, says Jay Anderson. I completely agree. Flashback here. Gremlin wants to know, best 2021 free agency period signings. Well, Malik Monk for the Lakers was a good one. I liked it when they did that. Unfortunately, didn't end up panning out for them because he left after 1 year, but he played really well while he was there. Let me think about some of the other ones. I think, Reggie Bullock, the way that played out was really good for Dallas. Reggie Bullock had a huge role for Dallas that I wasn't necessarily expecting as much. And then the one that I really liked was DeMar DeRozan. The Bulls, DeRozan, Lonzo, Caruso, that trio of signings was phenomenal. So I think those would be some of my big wins. Just off the top of my head, of course, I'm trying to recall from a year ago exactly what happened. But those are 3 that I think really stand out to me. Delio says, I'm sad that my Rockets haven't made any trades getting rid of Eric Gordon while the Pistons are on DeAndre Ayton trade from being serious title contenders. I get what you're saying, but unfortunately, Rockets, Eric Gordon was overvalued by fans. He was never going to get a first-round pick, especially not the picks that they were saying he was going to get. That was not a thing. I've been saying it for a while. He's been overvalued by the fan bases. Ryan says Delon ain't worth that. I completely agree. I think it's just a little bit of an overpay. And again, it's not going to be something that's crippling. Usually those $8 million deals are not crippling, but it's a lot. Justice Douglas says, I sent you a tweet, nothing crazy, but was wondering your thoughts. Let me go check it out, Justice. Thank you for sending me the tweet. If you guys haven't already, go give me a follow on Twitter. I'm super excited about it. Let's go to message requests. Justice here. Let's see what he says. What do you think of this? Tim Cato says, I'd imagine some combination of Powell, Hardaway, and Bertans going to be traded soon. I've been talking about that for quite some time. Tim is a pretty smart person when it comes to covering the Mavs. So huge thank you, Justice, for sending this. I'm familiar with Tim Cato's work, and he's someone who I very closely follows Dallas specifically. He doesn't really cover the rest of the league. And, I've been talking about Hardaway getting traded and Bertans getting traded. I've mentioned their names a lot today. And I think that Dallas, if they can find something that makes some sense, they should pursue it. The issue is, though, you have to have something in mind. If Kyrie's what you have in mind, I don't know if I love it. If Brogdon's what you have in mind, I'm not sure if I love it. But there's some moves out there that I would like. So we'll see what actually goes down with them. Kyler says, what potential moves could you see the Washington making to help them move the needle towards a top team in the East? It's going to have to be Kevin Durant. If it's not Kevin Durant, I don't see them taking the jump to top 10 and to a top team in the East. There's a big gap between where they are and where a team like Milwaukee is, or where a team like Boston is. And, they've tried. They've filled out the point guard spot a little bit with Monte Morris and now Delon Wright. But unless they get a top-end player, and usually I'm not the type of guy to say, they need a top-end player to get where they want to go, because I think a lot of the time you can make small moves and really progress in ways that are meaningful. But for Washington, just given where they're at with Beal, I think they need someone substantial. I really do. And I think that would be Kevin Durant. So we'll see. Maybe they should pursue him aggressively, but it's always a risk. Hart says, the Rockets just got Jabari Smith. Do you know how many players that is worth? At least 1.5, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, Jabari Smith is a good player. That's why I don't think that they're going to be really worried about free agency. They drafted him and Tari Eason. That's two really good additions in the draft. Bentley Crawford said, what team is Levine on? He is on the Chicago Bulls for all intents and purposes. That's where he will end up playing his basketball next season. Unless the Dallas Mavericks get involved, I don't see anyone else making a play. Cruz Cole said, let's see, where did that go? I lost it now for a second. 1 second. There we go. Cruz Cole said, dang, really hate that for my Hawks unless we re-sign Lou Will, who barely played, much to the fan base's dismay. We need another guard behind Trey and DeJounte. There's some options out there. Don't worry. They could always go out and find someone. And then Hartheimer is saying, is Durant being a spoiled brat for demanding a trade? No, he's just looking out for his own best interest. I don't think, you should call a player a brat or anything. He's trying to do his best. Now, is he a little hypocritical based on what he said about James Harden 4 months ago to what he's doing now? 100%. He's a hypocrite in terms of, being committed to the franchise and all that. But ultimately, this is what happens in the league. It happens all the time. Chronicles said, imagine KD traded back to Oklahoma City because only OKC has draft capital and cap space. It'd be crazy. It would be absolutely crazy. Big J said, my whiz kicked out money on Wright. Do you think they're done, or is Collins still on deck? I think that the Wizards are probably closer to done. Ryan said, W Donos, love that. Kyler said, with Lou Dort extension and seeing the money he got, is he the long-term starter? With Lou Dort extension, he probably has to be, at least for the next couple of years, you would think, right? Duntavia says, did I miss anything? Not quite. It's been quiet. Kyle Anderson signed with the Minnesota Timberwolves. JaVale McGee went to the Dallas Mavericks. That's kind of some of the more important news that broke in the last hour and a half. Heat says 3 teams. Dante DiVincenzo most likely to land. I think the Lakers are still on that list. I think that a team like the Atlanta Hawks could use a Dante DiVincenzo. And I think if another team wants to take a risk on him, we could see somebody like Oklahoma City give him a chance, see what he can do for you, I guess. I think the first two are really, better options than OKC's, though. Light Skin Disgrace says, in your experience of following the NBA, where does this rank in terms of off-season collapses of teams? This is one of the most catastrophic collapses I've ever seen. Not even just this offseason, but the last 6 months. Going from James Harden, KD, Kyrie on your roster, everyone's content, everyone's going to get extensions according to Sean Marks, to now all three of them likely being off the roster by the end of the week. That's a pretty catastrophic collapse. RPR Lucid said, most recent signings, I've been gone a while. Kyle Anderson to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and also JaVale McGee to the Dallas Mavericks. Those are some of the most recent ones. Williams Hansen Go Broncos says, what's up? Welcome to the stream, William. Glad to have you in here. Bentley Crawford said, what team is Zach LaVine on? LaVine is a free agent still, but he's going to sign with the Chicago Bulls, Bentley. Akimbo Slice says, Spurs still have $39 million in cap space. They do, but I don't know who they would sign with that. Colin Autry says, who do you think Durant is going to? If I had to guess, I would say either the Miami Heat or the Phoenix Suns. I think they're going to be the teams that are most aggressive. I would like to see Washington make a move, though. And don't count out Dallas. Dallas, I think, is a sleeper team in a lot of things. Bentley, yes, PJ Tucker signed with the 76ers. Ryan here says, lifetime deep dish Chicago pizza might have some real value. I think so. I mean, I signed me up for that. I just got done eating pizza during the break, as many of you know, with the little order job I had from some of the donations. So huge thank you to you guys for that. But yeah, deep dish pizza from Chicago, sign me up. I'd make a trade for that. Andrew Ford says, have my Hornets done anything? Not really today. The Hornets have been pretty quiet. Besides LaMelo Ball posting a picture on Instagram of him with Kevin Durant. Logan Jones says, KD going to the Blazers, best combination of fit, and Blazers actually have pieces. Just extended Simons plus Sharp and picks our foundation. The issue is you need to probably, it's not just as easy as throwing in Simons and Sharp and Simons just signed a deal with you. It doesn't mean he's ready to get signed and traded. When a player gets signed and traded, they have to agree to that. So just because Simon said yes to playing for Portland doesn't mean you can just trade him right now. You'd have to rework that entire contract, which would be difficult. Ben Crabtree says, you reckon a trade involving Jackson Hayes and Luke Kennard could work? Clippers could use a backup big after losing Hartenstein. That's not bad. I think the shooting there would be valuable for New Orleans as well. For me, though, if I'm the Clippers, I have my eyes on bigger things. If I'm going to trade Kennard, I'm going to try and use him with Marcus Morris and go get a player who's making $35 million a year that I really want. But it's a good question, Ben. I like it. Heat says, you think the Wizards go all in and try to reel in Kyrie in the mix, even if it's only 1 year? I hope not. If the Wizards go all in by trading for Kyrie Irving, I think that's a mistake. Ryan here says, you don't get rid of Okongwu. I wouldn't want to. I really like Okongwu. I think he's a very talented young player who is very mobile and just makes some freak plays that you're like, holy cow, this kid's going to be good. So that's what I like. Bentley says, KD and Dame, great duo. KD to Portland. It would be awesome to watch him play there. Think about it. It's kind of like the what-if scenario of what if they drafted Kevin Durant instead of Greg Oden? Well, now we get to see how that plays out. Ben Crabtree says, does KD have a trade clause in his contract? Would he have any say where he's going? Not really. They can kind of trade him to wherever. So he's able to say he wants out, and that's really it. Otherwise, the Nets are going to move him around wherever they need to. Light Skin Disgrace says, the Wizards usually sign the exemplary mid-guard, Howell Neto, Thomas Soronsky, Tim Frazier. They always do. The MLE guards are a staple there in Washington. And I'm going to say one thing. There's a reason it's always been a problem the last 5 to 10 years. They needed to do better than Delon Wright, in my eyes. Delio says, all these moves that are happening around the NBA, what does this mean for the Lakers' chances of winning the championship next year? The Lakers' chances doubled, honestly. Maybe even tripled. 0% all the way to 0%. The Lakers are not winning the finals next year. The only chance that the Lakers have of winning the finals is if they do get Kevin Durant somehow. Even Kyrie Irving, maybe. If they can get Kyrie for Russ, it gives them a better chance. But again, I don't think I'm going to like it. Jazz says, did you miss any? Did I miss anything? I'm not liking the thumbnail. Zach didn't leave, did he? No, Jazz, he didn't. Don't worry. Don't worry. I had this thumbnail planned even before the DeJounte Murray trade. So this is something I made. I just threw it into the video because I had a few made for today that I was planning on using. So I know it's not the most accurate. Hopefully you guys don't get annoyed too much. Zach LaVine is still a free agent. So don't worry. He's not going anywhere quite yet. Maybe the Spurs make a run, though. Who knows? Maybe I'm manifesting something. Callan says, is Melo leaving Charlotte? No, he's not. He says, worst case scenario for Miles Bridges situation. And if it is the result, what direction do the Hornets take? I think worst case is, I guess if you're talking about for Charlotte, there is really no worst case. They're going to keep him now at this point. They're in the driver's seat with him. Jay Anderson says, I love watching Knicks fan draft reaction. It's sad and so funny. Yeah, when they traded out their picks for the second straight year, all that to get Jalen Brunson. Seems like a crazy decision to me, but to each their own. To each their own. Let them do what they want to do because ultimately it's their franchise. Let's go ahead here to Mini Hoop Productions. He says, as a T-Wolves fan, I'm so excited to see Kyle Anderson play for them. It's a really nice signing. I like that a lot. John's Toxic says, you think Miles stays in Charlotte? Yes, I do. Sean J says, at Utility Sports, do you see the Pistons making any trades like Olynyk and or Corey Joseph? I would like them to. Ultimately, though, I don't think they do at this point. Aaron wants percentage chance Sixers get KD. At this given time, and yes, everything is subject to change, I would say about 5% chance. Kyler says this KD news kind of sucks. Some teams really going to mess up because they aren't going to make moves hoping to get KD, and it's going to ruin their offseason. I hope it doesn't take long for him to get traded. I hope the same. I hope that it happens swiftly here. Jay Anderson says, Andrew, he in the gym practicing. I just saw it. That's funny. Cruz Cole said, Ryan, that would be lit. Ryan says, legendary fall off for the Nets. It really is. Isaiah says, Hornets locker room screams unprofessional. I bet Gordon Hayward want to get out of there. Probably. David Crawford says, is Ben Simmons a long-term Net? I think so at this point, but we'll see. I think anything is on the table for them. Ryan here has a question. Sheldon, who wins, Alex or Max? Let me see. Is there any comments between those two, or Alex or Max? I guess, Ryan, can you clear that up for me quick? Mighty Messer says Nets can get better getting back good players from Golden State for KD and another team for Irving. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to trade with Golden State, though. I don't think Kevin Durant's headed to Golden State. And in fact, Andrew Wiggins can't be traded to the Brooklyn Nets right now. So Mighty Messer says, or Nick Pumper says, what's the trade looking like for the Mavs like you like the most? I'm thinking Sexton. I don't know if I like Sexton in Dallas. I think the one I would like the most is just sign and trade for LaVine. That would be best case scenario, but we'll see. Dontavia says pizza's the best. I completely agree. Lightskin Woj just tweeted that the Vegas odds predict Bulls are leading the hunt for Kevin Durant. I myself have not seen that yet, so I'll have to keep my eyes out on that, though. Mini Hoop wants to know what I would do if I was the Timberwolves. I would probably just roll my team over this year. I just say keep what you got right now. Just kind of see how they play together for a second year and then reevaluate at that point. I know it sounds boring, but sometimes making too many moves can mess up a mojo, and it can kind of, hurt your chemistry a little bit. I think that, just see what you got, wait another year, be patient, and then readdress from there, especially since they have a new president of basketball operations. RPR Lucid says, I know you're a Mavs fan. How do you feel about the McGee signing? I think the McGee signing's fine. I don't know if it moves the needle that much, but I think he's a quality big. So anytime you can add a quality big, you did a good job. Julian says, what's good, guys? I'm back. Glad to have you in here. Jack Bo with the bing bong. Let's get some bing bong in the chat for sure. Glad to have you back in here, Jack Bo. I'm excited for the rest of NBA free agency. Ryan Hillier says, how is Brogdon a perfect fit for the Clippers? I don't think he is. I think Brogdon is an overrated player for sure. I do. Jazz says, thank God. Yeah, sorry to give you a little bit of a heart attack there, Jazz. My fault. Jazz says, OMG, this is going to be like the LeBron, Bosh, and Wade. What if for us Bulls fans, isn't it? Sort of, yeah. I think so. Oh, Alex Volker, Max Holloway. I'm gonna go with give me a second to think on that. I need to make sure I'm gonna give my best answer here. I want to think about it. I'm gonna go with Max Holloway. I like his reach, solid length. If you guys know what I'm talking about. Lonnie Hooper says Detroit Knicks. Yeah, we do have the Detroit Knicks right now going on. Isaiah says Grizzlies will literally be a 7-8 seed next year, 100%. They won't make noise like they did this year, bro. It's an interesting take. Not that it's necessarily wrong. I think the Grizzlies overachieved this past year, and now the fact that Jaren Jackson is out to start the year definitely hurts them as well. Losing Kyle Anderson hurts, but they still have John Morant. So 7-8 seed, I'm not sure if I think that, but maybe 6-5 seed. I could see that being a realistic ending spot for them. We got that Bing Bong in the chat. Logan says better for the Nets to try to stay in contention and good players right now. Back for KD or younger guys. You want a combination of both. You want good players now, some younger guys, and draft picks. If you can pull that off, you did good. Mini Hoop Production says Kevin Durant to the Heat with the alerts going on. Nothing actually set though in stone. So Callum wants to know is Jaw staying? Yes, Jaw is staying. Atlanta analyst says, well, my Hawks lose Delon Wright, so now we are needing a backup point guard. Yeah, I think it's fine. I think they'll be able to find someone in free agency who can help them and hold over some of those minutes for sure. So I wouldn't worry too much, Atlanta analyst. I know it's a need, but the bots are popping off, Ryan. I'm trying to take care of them. They're always in here just trying to mess up my day. So we'll see. CO says, Grizzlies losing Kyle Anderson, does it hurt them? It does. It definitely does hurt them. What other guards should Atlanta sign now that we lost Delon Wright? Let's go ahead and talk about the guards that make some sense for the Atlanta Hawks here. Who are some guards that I would like to see them sign? And there's a couple. There's some options out there for sure. Let's go ahead and pull them up. Out there in free agency still at this point, you have guys like, and it's thinned out quite a bit, it has, but there still is Ricky Rubio out there. He would be really nice for Atlanta. You know, if you want to go with Colin Sexton, it's probably too expensive, but maybe. I like Rubio for a bunch of teams. I think, Minnesota, Boston, Cleveland, you look at a team like Atlanta, Chicago could use him even though they've got a lot of guards there. If they make a trade, they could use him. Otherwise, Elfrid Payton could kind of fill a similar role to Delon Wright. I know he's not as good as Delon, but he can fill a role. Otherwise, you look at it's really diminished after that. Maybe Trent Forrest. It's not great at that spot anymore. Isaiah says Smart is a real point guard. This fool just likes to play hero ball too much and it kills this team every time. I mean, Smart's really improved, though, with his decision-making the last 18 months. He's starting to figure it out a little bit more. Jay Anderson says Pat Bev to the Hawks. I have not seen that myself yet. I'll keep my eyes out for everything going on, though. But I have not seen anything like that. Right now, the current odds for Kevin Durant. The Suns are favored. Nets are second, actually, for the next regular season minute. 76ers, Bulls, and Heat tied at 5th. Blazers, Celtics, Lakers, Mavs, Clippers, Pelicans, all 20-1. So definitely interesting to look at that and see kind of what's out there. It's been quieter here in free agency. It has. Lou Matt says, elaborate on the Brogdon take. I feel like nobody talks about him. Well, I get what you're saying. A lot of people don't, but I'm a YouTuber, so I talk about trades a lot, and I make trade videos, and people always ask about him and say, oh, could he get me a first-round pick, or how many firsts do I get? And it's like none, or maybe one. Like, I from your perspective, and yes, before I was a YouTuber, no one talked about Brogdon, but once you are a YouTuber, you always have people asking about specific players, and I get a lot of questions about Brogdon. So I guess that's just my perspective on that, just given how people talk to me and what they're asking me about. I hear a lot about Brogdon, and I guess, normally you probably don't hear as much about Brogdon, but he's been in the center of trade talks for a long time. Lonnie Hooper says, thanks for the all-day streaming, my friend. Bing bong. Glad to have you in here, Lonnie. Yeah, it's been awesome. Callan says, you are like the only streamer that reads the comments on stream. Yeah, hopefully you guys do enjoy that. It's been a lot of fun. Ryan here says, Heat, well, maybe Rubio makes sense for the Celtics. I like Rubio for Boston quite a bit there, Ryan, as well. Alpha Omega says, thoughts on Bull signing Jalen Smith. Could be decent. Could be a solid pickup for them. Anthony Reed says, we have Sharif Cooper. Hopefully get some playing time behind Trey. We could see more Sharif Cooper this year. I kind of hope we do. That would be awesome. Oliver here says, with the Eastern Conference being so stacked, why won't an Eastern Conference team trade for KD to make your team contenders? Because there's only 4 teams in the East to take home the trophy. It's because the Eastern Conference teams all saw what we just saw, where Kevin Durant played horrendously against the Boston Celtics. Now, is that indicative of who KD is, or are we going to see that again? No, he's coming off an injury. You know, there's other things that play into that, but you know, Kevin Durant did just have the worst playoff series of his life. So I think that not that it really hurts his value, but if you are lining up to give up 4 firsts and pick swaps and good young players, you have to really ask yourself, in a tough East, does this 100% put us above the top? Because if it doesn't, 100% guarantee you a really good shot, if you're healthy, to winning the finals. You don't want to give up all of the future. So that's kind of why that's taking a little bit of time and why some teams are going to be a little hesitant. Cruz Cole says, thanks so much for reading our comments. Seriously means a lot. Thanks so much. Glad you guys are enjoying. It's a lot of fun for me, and you guys asked some really great questions. Jaideep says, thoughts on KD to the Raptors. We have OG, Trent, and we can give up 4 or 5 first-round picks. That's a pretty good package for Brooklyn, in my opinion. You get not 1, but 2 good young players. It's kind of the best of both worlds there. You get draft picks as well. It seems pretty good to me, and I honestly like it as well. Going on to this next comment, Atlanta analyst says you really need mods. I know we're gonna take care of it. Atlanta, we're gonna figure out some mods here. Me and my co-creator are gonna talk it through and probably, you know, both nominate some people that we think have been, you know, really consistent with watching the streams and everything, and then go from there. So it's a good problem to have that you need mods, because it means that you have a lot of interaction. But we're getting there. So don't worry, Atlanta analyst. Probably by the next time we stream, and not by tomorrow, but you know, by the next time after this set of streams that we stream, we'll have some mods kind of in place and get everything figured out and working. Reviewer Chris Production says, I respect the grind. Thank you. Sports says PJ Tucker's the best signing so far. He's going to be one of the more impactful signings. I think so for sure. Heat says, any move 76ers make to improve depth? I don't like the PJ signing. They added Daniil House, who I really like, and also Trevelin Queen. They've gotten a lot better off the bench. I really like it. Ryan here says PJ's a bootleg Tobias. In some ways, yes. He's definitely a way cheaper version, which is better. He has no player option, I guess, which there's a scenario where Marks makes KD stay in Brooklyn until he finds a real trade. It's a possibility. He could do that. Now, it's going to be difficult to pull that off. I mean, right now is the time where a lot of teams are going to want to make a move. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Isaiah says, yeah, I thought Pacers could make a little run next season, but they're not making any moves. It's okay. They're playing it patient. They got Halliburton. He's young. They got Ben Mathurin. He's young. Miles Turner's not even that old. They don't need to rush into anything. Jaideep says, thoughts on Raptors getting KD? Yeah, like I said, I really like that for them. Trevor Newman says, what do you think of the unlikely yet doable idea of OKC trading Shea for Durant, then unloading their team and picks for stars? I don't like it, but it's a fun and crazy idea that sends Kev to Oklahoma City. I wouldn't want to give up Shea. I think my goal would be to pair KD with Shea. My goal would be to give up the picks to get Kevin Durant and then keep as much of the young talent as I can and say, okay, Kevin Durant, you're good enough to elevate us to the postseason. And we've got all these other young athletic players who can do a bunch of different things. Like, imagine watching him with Chet and Shea and Giddey. Like, yeah, the team's young. Maybe they're not ready to win a championship, but Kevin Durant is. And if KD can lift you, the rest of the team is not that bad. So they could push. Lego James says, do you think LeBron could three-peat with KD and Kyrie? I don't know if three-peating's hard. I wouldn't say that he can three-peat. A lot of teams in history have not three-peated. That would be better than that Lakers team. Devontae Hunt says, is it too late for Kevin Knox to turn his career around? Yes, I think so. Chronicle says Rubio will definitely return back to the Cavs. That's the only place where he was appreciated. Sucks he got injured. It does. I'm really excited for him. to get back. He was having a really good season. RPR wants to know how old Kevin Durant is. I'm going to pull up his exact age because if I guesstimate him off by a year, people will be upset. He's 33. That's what I was going to say he was. He's 33 years old. And he turns 34 in September. That's what I was worried about. I didn't know when his birthday was. I knew he was 33 this past season, though. So, again, you're giving up a bunch of assets for a player who's 33 years old. That's why there's some concern. Honestly, the whole NBA is stacked right now, too. Ryan says, so Chad, tell him how bad Harden is. That's where I pushed back. I pushed back earlier today about James Harden. There was a lot of slander going on about that. Looking at Kyler here, do you think the KD trade will be bigger than PG? Do you think the KD trade will be bigger than PG-13 trade pick-wise? Maybe not pick-wise, but in terms of good players, probably. Jalen Brunson has agreed to a 4-year, $104 million deal with the New York Knicks. This deal includes a player option on the final season. So probably one of the best case scenarios for Jalen. He gets the 4 years, 104 from the New York Knicks with a player option. Light Skin Disgrace says we actually ask good questions. We actually like basketball. That's true. You guys do seemingly like basketball, and you do ask really good questions. So huge thank you to you. Aaron Scuda says, what do you think the Hornets move should be? I think they should just kind of roll back their team. I don't think that they need to do anything super harsh at this point. Unless there's an opportunity to get Kevin Durant, then you go do it. Chris says, I want to see Kemba or D Rose on the Bucks on a pay cut, probably, but they need playmaking off the bench. Yeah, the issue is Kemba doesn't guard anybody. So Kemba Walker couldn't guard me right now, and that's a problem. I think if you gave me 10 tries, I could probably score a couple times against Kemba Walker, and that's an issue. I say that kind of jokingly, but kind of not. Like, I am a little bit bigger than Kemba. So I don't think that's, Kemba's he's an NBA player, yes, but he couldn't guard anybody the last 2 seasons. Jaideep says, also, do you think there is a realistic chance we can get Kevin Durant? Talking about the Raptors, I don't know. Maybe. Ryan wants to know how many years I think LeBron has left. Realistically, for LeBron, I think he could play another 3-4 years. Now, is it going to be NBA championship level? No, but he's at least smart enough where even like 6-7 years from now, he could be a backup point guard or something. Like, he doesn't have to be super athletic because he's super smart. He's one of the smartest players to ever play the game. When you watch him play, you can tell he's reading the entire defense at all times, and he's seeing the whole floor. The game is slow to him, which is what made him so special, is he was such a fast player, and he's all around a really, really good talent. Callan Autry says, you need to do some streams of opening basketball cards. You would be good at it, and it would be fire. Well, Callan, maybe we can get some of that planned for the near future here with some of the new cards probably coming out toward the start of the season. He's still the cardio king, as Isaiah said. I agree. Jake the Priest says, thoughts on what on earth are the Indiana Pacers doing, bro? The answer to that is nothing. I don't think it's even that bad. I understand if you're a Pacers fan being upset about it, but it makes sense to me, at least. Atlanta Analyst says, what are your thoughts on possible Brunson replacements? I don't want Kyrie. I don't want Brogdon. I like the idea of Jaden Hardy growing into that role long term. I think the Mavericks need a little bit more right now. Tim Hardaway Jr., if he's the player who just plays in that role, I would be just perfectly fine with that. Otherwise, if you make a big trade for Kevin Durant, you say, who is Jalen Brunson again, and you move on. Ryan wants to know, does LeBron run to play with Bronny? I think so. I think the two of them are going to play together. Essential Classic, you think Derrick Jones Jr. would be a good fit with Sacramento? Yeah, he gives athleticism. Jack S says, do you play ball? We need some clips. I do. Actually, on my Instagram, there's some clips of me playing. So if you go follow me on Instagram right now, link is in the description for that. You can scroll through some of my posts. Some of them are just me kind of screwing around and just dribbling through my legs and stuff and whatever. Like, some of them are very lighthearted and casual just because during quarantine I was missing some of the gyms I usually went to and that kind of stuff. But at some points too, some of them, were actually me playing in some pickup and stuff. So go ahead and check it out for sure. Light Skin Disgrace says, how does the Delon Wright signing affect LeBron's legacy? I'm not sure. Ryan Heiler says, how about cash? I'll take it. I'll take it. RPR Lucid says, I just, that's funny, Ryan. RPR Lucid says, I just want to go Bear out of Utah. The rumors have been going on for so long. I get what you're saying. Lil Bobo with the follow request on Instagram. Let me go ahead and push that through for you. If you guys want to follow me, I will be accepting all follow requests right now. You can see me doing my thing, playing some hoops, doing that kind of stuff. So let me know kind of what you think. Maybe comment in my comment section on there if you want. I don't even care. Go ahead. Envision says Pacers are rebuilding, but have to wait until KD, Kyrie move before they can move any vets. Probably. That's probably a good point, Envision. I see what you're saying there. Kyler, why do you think that the Knicks didn't pursue a trade for DeJounte? I think they did. I think they probably ultimately just got outbid, though. Joseph Hoffman with the follow request and Dante Emilio as well. So thank you to you guys for following on the Instagram. Really do appreciate each and every one of you. Callan says, what's the most valuable NBA related item you have? There's a few different things. I've got a signed piece of the old Mavs hardwood floor, and it's signed by various players from the 2011 Mavericks, the ones that won the actual championship. That's probably my most valuable piece of NBA memorabilia, but I got some other stuff that's pretty cool as well. King J says, just found out the Spurs traded Jock Landale to Atlanta. What else would the Spurs do? Obviously upset. Spurs fans really like Jock. Obviously, he is now playing in Atlanta, though. Mighty Messer says, Kemba stops you at least 9 out of 10. Still, hello. I was kind of joking, Mighty. That was kind of the joke there. But it's at least 9 out of 10. See, the fact that you have to say at least 9 out of 10 and it's not 10 out of 10 times shows the concerns, right? It shows some of the worry there. If you have to say at least 9 out of 10 about stopping me, that's a problem. That's kind of the whole point there. Shout out to you guys, Luke and Swole Swan and Kelv as well for the follows on Instagram. Thank you guys. Envision says, we're getting more and more in here as well. Thank you to you guys, Lou Med and the Atlanta analyst, Emmanuel Corker, going crazy with the follows. So thank you so much. Appreciate all of that and more. JD Pierce says, thoughts on Raptors getting KD? Do you think it's a realistic chance? Unfortunately, I don't really think it's realistic. Callan wants to know if I've seen the movie Hustle, what do I think of it? Hustle was one of the best movies I've ever watched in terms of a sports movie. It was good basketball. The training stuff looked awesome. They had Drew Hanlon in there. He did a great job in that as well. The star power in there with the professor and some of the other people. It was incredible. It was a really good movie. I think it was really well produced and well put together. Bo Cruz was awesome as well. So Juancho Hernan Gomez, he got cut today. Maybe he's got a future in acting though. He did a really great job in that movie. So I'm excited. I hope there's more basketball movies that come out similar to it. Not the same thing, but, following certain things and a little bit of good basketball content. PJ Cruz says, what kind of offensive schemes would you like to see being run in Detroit? A lot of pick and roll. Nothing too crazy. When you have young guards, you don't really want to overload them with stuff. Put them in the pick and roll. You've got athletic bigs now in Nerlens Noel and Marvin Bagley. And, Isaiah Stewart doesn't jump, but he's strong. He sets good screens. For Ivy, and whether that's double drags, you'd run some pick and pop stuff with Olynyk. There's certain options you can run in there. The one thing I think Detroit still needs is a movement shooter to a higher extent of what Sadiq Bey is. That way you can get a little bit more creative with some of your offensive sets off the ball. But, ultimately, I feel pretty good about where they're at. And I think when you have young guards, you just want to put them in the pick and roll and, let them learn the game. Jay Anderson says, Ivy for Rookie of the Year. I'd like to see it. It would be awesome if he does. Atlanta analyst says, Rockets have Bruno Fernando. Yes, they do. B Minor says, Bronny won't make the NBA. He's not good at all. Bronny will definitely make the NBA. There is no question about that. Whoa, GSPN. Breaking reports say Kevin Durant is traded to the Miami Heat for Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Kyle Lowry, 2 firsts, and a second swap. Not happening. That's funny, though. Whoa, GSPN. Oliver Zine says, Utility Sports, which NBA team has the least bright future, like my Detroit Pistons back in 2019? The Pistons' future back in 2019 was horrendous. Stan Van Gundy ran that team into the ground. So, like, holy cow, that was brutal, honestly, with how bad their future looked at that point, which is why the lottery is such a big deal. It really saved Detroit basketball. But I think right now the one that's maybe the most questionable is Brooklyn's, which is funny because you look at the team and you're like, oh my goodness, what are they gonna do? And if they it depends on what they get back. Right now, they're the biggest question mark. They really are. Anthony Reed says the Brunson situation is interesting. His dad works there, and his dad's old agent is Leon Rose, president for the Knicks. On top of that, Rose's son is Jalen's current agent. Everyone involved getting paid. Oh, they're all getting paid, and it's all at the expense of the owner. So it makes sense. Maybe it's all insider trading type stuff. I wouldn't be mad about it. CO says, why no one is talking about Bo Cruz being a free agent? Dude, Bo Cruz is out there. I don't know if they saw the film on him. 2 hours of tape. Yeah, that guy's a bucket. That's awesome. We've been talking about Bo Cruz. Callan says, bring out the piece of the Mavs court. I've got it hung up on my wall over there, so I don't want to, really disturb it. So it's been hanging up there for quite some time. I'm not going to go grab it right now. But I can see it. It's right there in eye level. Here, maybe I'll take a quick picture of it. I actually have a photo hanging off of it, but let me see if I can get this picture quick. My lighting is going to mess this up a little bit, but definitely a solid picture here. That'll do the trick, I think. As you can see, it's right up there on the wall, next to my old jerseys back in the day, and all that. But there you are. There it is. I got a picture hanging on it. So that's kind of what I'm seeing. Jay Anderson says, "Bro, you can hoop." I play a little bit. Nothing special, but yeah, I know I play a bit. You don't love basketball as much as I do, and not ever play. So, I'd hope I can play a little bit. Isaiah says, yeah, Hustle was such a good movie. Loved it. John Wang says, who the Heat going to get? I think they're going to try and get Kevin Durant. Chronicle says, Dude will be live streaming all day until the big star sign or gets traded. KD situation really put the signings on hold. Yeah, I do have a cutoff point tonight, just because I do work tomorrow as well. And my hope is to get up and stream or make some content for tomorrow as well. But hopefully you guys have been enjoying the stream all day today. Again, we've been really active on the channel. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on more of the content. Also, we're only at 87 likes and there's 230 of you watching right now. Let's try and at least get that like button to 100. I think that's a really attainable goal. Let's go ahead and hit that like button. And if you guys want to see me hoop like Jay Anderson's talking about, go give me a follow on Instagram. I will push that through right now. Ryan said, yes, he can hoop. Chris told me he's down for all that. All right, Ryan. Well, let's set it up then. Let's get going. You guys just killed it. Over 100 likes already. Look at that. You guys are the best. We have Luke here with a follow request as well. Let me go ahead and push that through. Huge thank you to you guys, though. Honestly, it's been a lot of fun having all your guys' support and everything. Trevor said, who's going to be the guy on the Spurs that looks like their future outside of Keldon Johnson? Personally, I love the Malachi Branham pick. I hope he's the starter this year. I don't think Branham starts. I think Devin Vassell is really slept on. I think Devin Vassell will become a really solid household name in the league. Daniel Luna, says, do you think that the Lakers did good signings in free agency? I didn't like the Toscano Anderson one. There's not really a risk involved, though. I think the Lonnie Walker one was good, and I really think getting Troy Brown Jr. on the minimum was solid. Envision says, don't underestimate Sohan on the Spurs. I think Sohan's someone who has some potential too. We'll see what happens with that. I liked him coming out of Baylor. I think he's smart. I think he's instinctual defensively. And I think if he gets his fundamental footwork right, he's going to be someone who can really fit well. Kason Willison wants to know my thoughts on Kyle Anderson to the Wolves. Really like that. They need more players like him. And having a nice player in the forward spot who can handle the ball a little bit, I think makes D'Lo a little bit more expendable if there is a trade for them. But ultimately, if not, he fits around that entire roster too. The fact that Cat can shoot the ball and Naz Reid can shoot the ball off the bench gives them, enough flexibility that playing Kyle Anderson isn't as much of a concern as it would be for other teams, simply because Kyle Anderson is not much of a shooter. Pistons fan says, what do you think about Kevin Knox? I don't know. Okay shot in the dark. Ultimately, I don't think there's anything there, but when you're a former top 10 pick, teams are going to continue to sign you with hopes of unlocking your potential. Sometimes potential is just not really there for guys, and I think that's Kevin Knox, honestly. not to be so, harsh on him. I hope he works, but we'll see. Terrell Williams says, just want to know if Bol Bol's restricted or unrestricted presently. He is unrestricted. Any team could sign him. No one is rushing to do though. So to do so though. Is the court piece signed by Boban or Dirk? It's signed by Dirk. Boban was not on the team back in 2011. So no Boban signature, unfortunately, but on there I believe is Jason Terry, Dirk Nowitzki. I think Jason Kidd is on there, if I remember right. It's been a while since I've actually, actively looked at it. It's been hanging in my room, and I don't look at it every day or something. I think also Caron Butler and Deshaun Stevenson might be on there, and I think Tyson Chandler as well. There's a few other players signed on there as well, but that's my, most valuable thing. Fuzzy says, this guy's still going, should rename channel Energizer Bunny Sports. Honestly, I don't know what I'm running off of, but it's excitement, I guess. Just to let y'all know, he started at 10 a.m. Eastern, if I remember. I did. I've been live for a long time. I have been live streaming today for about 10 hours or so of total duration. So it's been crazy. So Ryan, like what you're saying there is right. Ryan, I agree. Vassell's not better than Keldon. I don't think so, but I think Vassell is going to take a big step forward. I agree with what you're saying there, Ryan. Gamer174 says, utility, who do you reckon wins Summer League? Summer League's always random, because certain players who, come from a JUCO program or, catch on somewhere, end up playing better than anyone expected. And those are the players that end up getting jobs. So it's awesome. Think about Alex Caruso a few years ago when he came out of Texas A&M. No one was really having him on his radar. He got a Summer League invite by the Lakers. And then he ended up being one of the best players next to Lonzo Ball when that team started to really make some noise at the Summer League level. If I had to bet, I would say Pistons, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Rockets with Tari Eason and Jabari Smith walk away with it. Chet Holmgren's going to be a beast as well in Summer League assuming he plays, which is always a question too. Jazz says, you earned it, bro. Know what you're talking about. Thank you so much. I try my best to be prepared for these, so hopefully you guys have been enjoying it. Bentley says, I'm back. Bentley, glad to have you back here. Tevin says, shout out to you. I checked for you before First Things First and Undisputed. Well, Tevin, that's awesome. I'm glad that you do enjoy the basketball content here. I think the one thing that this channel shows is a lot of realism and my actual honest opinions. I'm not just debating to debate. Sometimes I debate, sometimes I agree. And I think it's really going to come down to what I honestly believe. I don't just say stuff to say stuff. Ryan says Naz Reid can't shoot the ball, if you ask me. I need to look at his numbers this past year. I haven't looked at his actual stats. I do watch a lot of Timberwolves games, though. So, he shot 34% from three, which I think is somewhat solid for a big. It's not like he's a great shooter, but he shoots, I think. So, he's I think the one thing he can do is defend the paint. Oh, my goodness. Watching Naz Reid defensively sometimes it's really, really painful. Michael Orlando says, what kind of pizza did you end up destroying? I went simple. I went just with, normal pepperoni and normal, a little bit of that normal margarita sauce. Usually I like to go Alfredo pizza, but this time I kept it plain and simple. And, I enjoyed it. So Michael, huge thank you to you again. Lightskin says, what's the best high school or college prospect player you've seen in person? If you want to know, I actually played Jericho Sims in high school. That was actually my last game of my high school career. I played against Jericho Sims, who's now he's a two-way player with the Knicks, but played quite a bit in the NBA this past year and was pretty solid for them. For those of you who do not know, he had a 48-inch vertical and he's 6'10". We went to overtime against him in high school. It was my last game. As you can tell in sections, we lost in overtime. I think in overtime he had about 4 or 5 dunks, and we ended up losing by, I think, 4 or 6 points. I had a pretty good game. I think I had 17 or something, maybe 16 points, somewhere in there. I don't remember all this stuff. I've got the clips of me scoring and stuff. In high school, I was solid. I'm definitely way better now than I was because I feel like my high school coach didn't really coach me that much. I feel like I had to coach myself more. So I pushed myself, I think, harder even when I got out of high school to become a better player. And I think I really have been. I've become way more athletic. I put on quite a bit more weight, about 45 pounds since then of what I think is solid weight. And I think it's definitely helped me be a better player. So if you're young, if you're a high school player right now, or if you're looking to take a step into college, working out is really important. You need to get bigger and stronger and faster. And if you don't, I know basketball is a skill sport, but having those things really does help. So I'm going to recommend that for those who who need it. Here, PJ Cruz says, bro, once you make it big as a scout, don't forget about us. Don't worry, I won't. I won't. And if I do get a scout job, my hope is to still do this on the side a bit. So don't worry. The YouTube stuff is going to keep popping off. Logan Jones, thank you for the follow on here. Glad to have you hit me with that follow. Thank you so much. Really do appreciate each and every one of you. Jay Anderson, has Whiteside gotten signed somewhere? Not quite yet, Jay. We'll keep our eyes out on him. Jake Dupree says Pacers have 0 power forwards on their team. What do you expect them to do now that they missed out on almost all good free agent power forwards? Keep Jalen Smith. That's their option. Grande Poppy says, bro, your bladder control is goated. I try my best. Assam wants to know, where does Bo Cruz sign? I'm hoping he signs back with the Minnesota Timberwolves. It's pretty crazy. He spent some time there as well. In the movie Hustle, you actually heard Dave Benz, who was formerly with Valley Sports North, is not anymore, get to a spot where, we heard his calls about Hernan Gomez in there. So that was always awesome. Tommy Tukeen says, keep up the great content. Watching from Australia. That's the craziest thing. Let's get some Australia hype in the chat right now. That's the craziest thing when people are watching me from all around the world. I would have never guessed that. So it's absolutely insane. Bentley says, where is Toscano Anderson? He signed with the Lakers. Sam Levine prediction. That's what he wants to know. I think he stays with the Chicago Bulls. Let's look ahead at Sports 789. Do the Nets have to trade KD even though he has to be traded? No, they don't, but it would not be good for them to hold on to him and hold him hostage. It would make them look really bad to agents and to other players. So no, they don't technically have to, but realistically they should and probably will. What if the Mavs get D'Lo for THJ and Bertans contract? Not bad, but I don't know if D'Lo is what I want next to Luka. Do you think Kyrie is going to be traded? Yes, I think so. Sam Lightskin says, if Jericho Sims wasn't jumping over everybody, I'd be surprised. I have a clip of it if you want to see it. He almost dunked on me in transition. It was scary. I've never been so scared in my life playing basketball. He's legit. Someone who played serious D1 minutes. This is on our TikTok. Our TikTok link is in the description as well. I recommend you go and follow us on there. But here, I'll show the clip right now. Here he is. Let's see if I can get it up here. He skies for the rebound. Look at him. Look at him run down the lane. And there I am in the back. And he goes Euro step, and I just get out of the way. I'm like, yeah, I'm not about to get dunked on. Let's watch it one more time here. Look at him sky. There he is. Oh, my gosh. And watch him come running down the rim at us. And I'm like, I'm going to get out of the way. I reached down. I was in foul trouble, too. So if I would have picked up the foul, I would have been probably on the bench for the rest of the first half. So I was not about to get dunked on, and I was not about to pick up my third foul, which in high school you only get 5. So I would have been in some serious trouble. So I decided I was going to get out of the way. Ryan says, love you, bro. I'm trying to make the negative side. Did he put you in the walls? He almost did, just like you just saw. He almost did. If I didn't get out of the way on that one, I would have been put in the walls. The one thing I really love to do it, one of the signatures to my game is I like to rondo, where I fake pass it behind my back and keep it. And going into that game, the whole week we're prepping for that game, getting excited because we're like, oh, we're going to face Jericho Sims. He's probably going to go to the NBA. At that point, he'd already committed to the University of Texas, so we knew he's a D1 prospect, really highly ranked recruit. We're like, we're gonna play him, and we're gonna try and beat him. And he was the number 1 recruit in my high school class for my state. And my goal was to get an opportunity to hit that rondo move on him with the fake pass behind the back, and I never had an opportunity, unfortunately. But I played pretty well that game. And honestly, playing against a player like him was a lot of fun, and one of my greatest memories of playing high school basketball, just because, it's cool to say, hey, I played against a guy who made it to the NBA, and we kind of held our own against him. He had like 30 something points, I'm sure. But I had half that. That's not bad. I'll take it. Light Skin Disgrace says Bo Cruz and Kermit Wilts should stay teammates. They should, dude. Those two guys, that would be hilarious, seeing him back in Minnesota. Built by Sports says, any world in which the Mavs take Mike Conley to sustain while Jaden Hardy gets ready? I hope not. I do not want Mike Conley. I really don't want Mike Conley. Ryan Hillier says, let's go Aussies. Let's get some of that Australian hype in the chat. Atlanta Analyst says, Hawks better be finalizing a deal to acquire Ayton. We'll see. Callan says, I'm in Georgia. Where are you? Some of my family actually lives out in Georgia. I'm planning on visiting there at some point soon. So maybe I'll get some public runs going out in Georgia or something. Grande Poppy says, where does Divancenzo end up? Dante, I think Laker makes the most sense, like Ryan is saying there. Otherwise, there's a few other teams that, could target him. I think the Hawks could actually be an intriguing spot for him, just the fact that they could use a backup guard, and then they probably stagger some of the minutes between DeJounte and Trae Young, so they always have a point guard on the floor. But then that way you can play Dante kind of as a 2, which is what I think he's best fit as. Jack Bo says, Bing Bong. Let's get that Bing Bong hype in there again. Bilal says, how do you see the Hawks perform this season, assuming everyone's healthy? I think with DeJounte there now, they're a lock to be a playoff team, probably a top 5 seed in the East, which is really good. Ryan says, bro, how he get that high up? That's what I'm saying. He just flies. He's a legit athlete. He's someone who, and it's crazy. You play against him, you don't even realize how high he's jumping. You don't really realize that because he's huge. He's 6'10". He's about 7 or 8 inches taller than I am. He was a big boy. And he was athletic, and you see how fast he was compared to everybody. I kind of want to pull it up again. Just watch for how fast this guy is. Let's watch it again. Watch him. He's going to go up and get the rebound, and watch him beat everyone down the floor with a live dribble. He runs faster with the ball in his hands than all of my teammates did without it. It was insane. And of course, I was always the deep man back because I was kind of a point guard. I led my team in assists and everything. But so I would always be the guy who I grabbed a ton of defensive rebounds. I didn't really rebound offensively because most of the time I would just be trying to limit transition opportunities against us. And unfortunately, I was the guy caught back there. So I didn't get dunked on, but he's insane. Big J says, oof. Yeah, that's definitely insane. But yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun playing him. Jackbo with another Bing Bong. Texas Sports says Bing Bong equals W. Love that. Ryan says, in hockey, true story, I played against John Tavares and with Steven Stamkos. Seriously, Ryan, that's crazy. 2 hockey legends for those who are maybe a little bit less, versed in the NHL world. But John Tavares, Steven Stamkos, obviously 2 great players. That's awesome, Ryan. Jay says, Bing Bong as well. The Atlanta analyst, I live in Georgia. It would be great to meet you. Yeah, definitely. If I ever when I head out to Georgia again, I'll try and let you guys know. When I head out there, I kind of am around the Atlanta area. I'm not sure exactly where you're at. I'm guessing you'd probably be close to Atlanta, but we'll see. M wants to know top 3 destinations for Brogdon. I think one of them would be the New York Knicks. Playing him next to Brunson would be pretty solid, I think. I think another one would be the Dallas Mavericks are probably one of the more likely spots for him, even though it's not what I want. I think it's possible. And I think another team would be Sacramento. I think those are the 3 teams that makes the most sense. Callan says, what part is your family? I might be able to meet you. They're a little bit outside of Georgia, or outside of Atlanta, excuse me. They're about 15 to 25 minutes outside of Atlanta. So if you're around Atlanta at all, we could probably try and arrange some type of meet and greet with my Georgia homies out here or something. That would be sweet. We'll definitely try and figure something out for the future at some point. Lightskin says, if you were to have a sit down with Mark Cuban for a final roster spot, what's your pitch to be a player? My pitch to be a player is, hey, I will get up and I will cheer. I watched what Theo Pinson did last year for Dallas. I can do that and more. I'll run and get the water for Luka Doncic. If you give me a player contract, heck, I do almost anything. They make their minimum contracts like $900,000. Sign me up for a minimum. Holy cow. That would be pretty good. .40 wants to know what the score was. We got down early in that game, but we actually ended up going to overtime. So we ended up losing by 4 or 6 points. I can't exactly remember, but we played really close with them, which is one of the more proud moments I have about basketball. Just the fact that, we faced off against the guy who made it to the NBA and got drafted, and we held our own against him. I'm really good friends still with one of the players on my from my high school team. So him and I talk about it every once in a while. And sometimes when Jericho Sims throws down a crazy dunk, we're like, yeah, we played against that. That's insane. Ronnie says, yo, do you think Kyrie will end up in the Lakers since KD requested trade? Yeah, probably, Ronnie, if I had to guess. Gamer174 said, who do you think was better, All-Star Randall or Oladipo first year with the Pacers? I think All-Star Randall was better, but unfortunately, both of those players are not who they were in those seasons. So that's a really good question. It's a fun hypothetical question there. Tommy Tukeen says, which team do you support and favorite player now and of all time? So I'm a Mavericks fan. My favorite player all time is Dirk Nowitzki. My favorite player right now is Luka Doncic. If you're a Mavs fan, that's kind of the right answers there. There's other players in there. I really liked Monta Ellis for the Warriors and the Bucks when they had him. I really liked Monta Ellis. Obviously, he ended up playing for Dallas later, but I liked him way before he ended up in Dallas. I always liked Jason Kidd, even when Jason Kidd was playing with the Nets. I really liked him. I love the combination of Richard Jefferson and Vince and Jason Kidd. That team was a lot of fun to watch. So there was always different teams and different players that I always kind of liked, even though I've been a Mavs fan. You end up liking certain players. I really like James Harden, and I actually cheer for the Houston Rockets for the good part of the last decade when the Mavericks were kind of in some of their back-end years where they weren't making the playoffs. Houston I could support, which I know is going to sound weird to some Mavs fans, but ultimately, you like which players you like, and I loved James Harden when he was coming off the bench for OKC. And I saw everything that he ended up becoming. Atlanta Analyst says, I live south of Atlanta, so that would be really cool. That would be awesome. We'll definitely try and figure something out. Ryan Hillier says, Gamer Ollie easily better than Randall. I mean, yeah, Pacer Oladipo was really good that first season. So maybe I'm shortchanging him a little bit. Devin Wilson says, where do the Wizards finish in the East? It depends on what they do. I think anywhere from a 10 to a 6, maybe a 10 to an 8 seed in the Eastern Conference, though. Light skin disgrace. Theo Pinson played for the Mavs. More so cheered for the Mavs. He didn't really play much, but yes, this year. The Atlanta Analyst says, I would tell Mark Cuban, let me in the front office. Yeah, that's what I should really tell him. There's no way I get a playing career in the NBA, but we'll see. We'll see if a front office job ever presents itself to me. Terry Taylor says, I played against Terry Taylor in high school, and I became a Pacer fan this year after he got that contract. I can see you really like Terry Taylor. You made your username Terry Taylor as well, so definitely someone who really enjoyed playing against Terry Taylor. But it's always fun playing a player like that because you're like, wow, that's pretty crazy. Ryan says, this man needs a scouting job. I hope so. We'll see if one ever comes around for me. I'm hoping it does. I'm pretty confident at some point it will with everything I got going on. Bulls GM fell asleep, says Killer Bean. Probably did. It seems like Karnisovas is taking a nap. Atlanta Analyst says, I'm telling you, if I land a GM job, I'm calling Utility Sports. I don't know your name, but you. Here's my name. If you want it, Atlanta Analyst, you can put it in your phone notes or something. In case you need it, there it is. There's my phone. You can find me wherever you need to. And then that way, you've got it just in case you ever need it. Mirror T says, yeah. Ryan says, yo, sign Sheldon up for the Masai process. Honestly, we're trying to get there. Bentley Crawford says, I play basketball and playing this year. Well, Bentley, if you ever have highlights, feel free to send them to me. We have our business email. I would love to watch you guys' highlights. We have a viewer who's a Cavs fan. He's actually going somewhere to play. I think probably D3 basketball. I'm not exactly sure, though. I didn't look into the college too much, but I watched his huddle highlights, and kid's a bucket. He was able to score in the mid-range, and I love hearing about your guys' stuff that you got going on just as much as I'm sure you like hearing about mine. So that's one of the things that I really enjoy. I like watching basketball, whatever level it is. I coach high school basketball. I work at a place that lets me watch basketball for work. And I do this. So you can tell I really like basketball. Jason Lou says, you're a better man than I am. I'm not sure. Everyone's got their stuff, but Jason, I'm sure you're just a fine gentleman in general. Texas Sports says, Steve Nash was there with Dirk for a minute. Do you think the Mavs would have won more chips if they found a way to keep him? Yeah, probably. They would have at least been really close. Jason Lou says, I have nothing good to say ever about the Mavs or Spurs. I see what you're saying. I tried. I don't have any issue or beef. I think part of it is I don't live in Texas. So maybe I don't have as much of that true blood hate for the other Texas teams, which I'm sure, comes with the territory of living there. So, maybe that's understandable. Gremlin here says, Chuck Norris once roundhouse kicked my dad right in the bing bong. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, sounds painful. Jay Anderson says, I want to make trade proposal for KD if I'm the Bulls. Here at the trade. Bulls get Kevin Durant. Nets get 5 deep dish pizzas. That's a pretty good offer to start. Kobe White sauce. Okay. Luke Cornett. Boston gets Steph Curry chicken and 3 chicken sandwiches. Okay. I'm not sure if Brooklyn is giving up enough in this deal. The Nets did get 5 deep dish pizzas. So to give back an asset only like Kevin Durant, I think you'd have to give up more for those 5 deep dish pizzas, especially if you've seen some of the prices in Chicago. No, I'm just kidding. That's a funny comment though, Jay. Chronicle says he can fill up a scout and final roster spot. I'm a dual scout and player. I like that, Chronicle. I like that a lot. That would be hilarious. Lightskin says I'd beg Karnishvis to shine the shoes off the whole Bulls roster. That's funny, Lightskin. I like that. Lightskin Disgrace says Sheldon Woolman 2023 lottery pick. Probably not. In any of my mock drafts, I probably would not ever even mock myself. If I was highly biased, I still wouldn't mock myself. I'm nowhere near the level of some of the great athletes that are entering the game. I think people don't realize how fast and how talented some of the top players are. It's insane. It really is. Ryan says, bro, let's get him going round 1. That's awesome. Kendra ESPN putting some fake news in there. Not the actual truth there. Caden with the request to follow. Thank you to Caden. And also to Marion Cardano. So thank you to you guys putting your guys' follow requests through right now. Says doing everything for the gram. I like that bio. Caroline Atlanta analyst, where's Collins going? Bella Pa wants to know. Jay Henderson says Sheldon, the 2028 first. How young do you think I am? By 2028, I'll be past my prime. Holy cow, I'll be old by then. Ryan says, tell him, Chris. Chris Stefania giving you love. Definitely is. Really appreciate each and every one of you guys. Honestly, it's hilarious. Boilermaker 51 says, where's the Miles Bridges signing? LeMayo. Nowhere yet. I think he's more likely to be seen wearing some nice prison garb orange rather than a team jersey for at least tonight. Texas Sports says, I live in Texas. I root for the Rockets first. As soon as they get eliminated, I root for the best Texas team from there. Dallas, San Antonio, doesn't matter. See, I don't necessarily root for San Antonio. I've never been drawn as much to San Antonio, but I don't dislike San Antonio at all. For the Rockets, I was drawn to James Harden, and I also happened to like T-Mac growing up. So, I've kind of always had a little bit of a soft place in my heart for Houston, but I wouldn't say I'm a Rockets fan. I would just say I've happened to like 2 of their best players in the last 2 decades, and that's kind of more the reality there. I don't feel as much of a connection to Jalen Green. Even though I think Jalen Green's going to be good, I don't like him as much. Atlanta analyst says, personally, enter either to the Wizards, Suns, or Nets. I can also see a world where he gets dealt to Indiana for Brogdon as a backup. That would be interesting, Atlanta analyst. I don't actually mind that as much. True Sports Live says, is free agency done for tonight? No shams or Woj tweets. It kind of appears that way. I think maybe we, stay live here for another 20 minutes or so. I'm having a lot of fun, but, honestly, it seems like the news has kind of died down. And maybe I'd start the stream back up here after, let's hang out for another little bit, see if there's anything going off. But it seems like right now, the whole situation with free agency is slowing down. But yes, Texas Sports, T-Mac, 13 points in 35 seconds. And that was such an iconic, that was one of my earlier basketball memories. I was watching basketball for a while by then, but in terms of actual plays and days, I was watching that game live when it happened. And that was insane. That was absolutely incredible. when that day happened against San Antonio, that was absolutely insane. All the owners went to sleep. Honestly, it seems like that. Okay, the Bulls get their backup center, and it's a good one. Good thing we stayed live here for a little bit longer. Free agent center Andre Drummond is finalizing a deal with the Chicago Bulls. Definitely like that for them. I think that's a really solid get for Chicago. I think that's a nice win for them in the backcourt, or in the front court, as a backup big. I like that quite a bit. I think that's a really solid get for the Chicago Bulls. Drummond to Chicago, I really like that. Gremlin says Dirk's last game was versus Spurs, and they played him a super classy tribute video. No hate. Exactly. That's exactly how I feel. The Spurs, not that I'm a fan of them, but I don't have any reason to dislike them. Just because they play in the same state doesn't mean you should dislike them. And I guess I have a clearer perspective of that because, I'm not from Texas, so I don't have that actual, feel. Oh, the Bulls finally paid their phone bill. Yes, they did. They were able to make some calls today. Old Buckness. That's hilarious. But Drummond backing up Vooch, the dude he was talking garbage about. I mean, yeah, this is the funny thing. This is the second time Drummond's done this. Remember, he had that whole beef with Joel Embiid and then was the backup big for Philly last year. I think this is a really, really nice signing here for my man Chris selling the spelling. I think Artunis is going to be the first man at my wedding. Let's hope so. Let's hope so. But I think that this is a really solid get for Chicago. I think this is going to be a really nice move for them. They needed to get better as a backup center. Tristan Thompson was not getting the job done. Tony Bradley was not getting the job done. Andre Drummond will in certain situations, which is an upgrade. That's definitely good. Atlanta analyst says, I can't get too mad at my Hawks because they did make a blockbuster trade yesterday, but I hope we can sign some solid guys and not bums. There's still some solid free agents out there. So don't panic too much, Atlanta analyst. It's been a slower market. Who knows? Maybe they're working on a KD deal and you're going to say, wow, Travis Schlank's a genius if they get one done. So we'll see. It's going to be definitely a lot of fun to watch and see exactly what happens. But yeah, absolutely crazy. Today's been an awesome day. Kevin Durant requests out of Brooklyn. Who would have thought that was going to happen? We've had some really awesome viewers in here. Ryan's been hanging out all day long. He's talking about how I started at like 11 a.m. Eastern time. That's basically when you started too, Ryan. You've been in here the entire day, basically. So huge shout out to you. Jay says, Kevin Knox 2023 MVP. That would be crazy. AL wants to know who is most likely to get Kevin Durant. Right now, Vegas favors the Phoenix Suns. Boilermaker 51 says if the Pacers don't bring back TJ Warren, the starting power forward position has nobody. And I get what you're saying there. Jalen Smith could be a nice retention piece for Indiana if they need to. Lightskin says, shout out all the people who've been sweating all over their keyboard interacting with the Goat Scout on YouTube. Thank you for that. Appreciate all the great comments and everything. Really appreciate you. Nuggets are done. Calvin Booth is not a good GM. I do have some concerns about that, Logan. I do. I've been talking about that in multiple videos, even before they made any moves, and I'm not super happy with what I've seen. Atlanta analyst says, I've been defending Travis the whole time. I love that dude. He puts you on a roller coaster because he'll be silent for a while and then make a big splash. So we'll see. He's overall a really good executive. I think, for a lot of people who know some of the names, he's a GM that I think is underrated and an executive who doesn't get as much credit as he probably deserves. Ryan says, "Go YouTube Scout." I like it. I'm trying my best here. We'll see. A lot of work goes into the NBA draft videos, but I keep up with the entire NBA as well. So, AL says, "Are the Hawks a top 5 team in the East?" I think so. I think that they're right around there. Bella Pa Care Live says, "Facts, Atlanta. We lucky to have Travis." I think he's really good executive. So that's huge for the Atlanta Hawks. We are going to stay live here for another 5 to 10 minutes or so. Hopefully you guys have been really enjoying. Make sure to go give us a follow on Twitter. There's about 150 of you in here right now, and our Twitter could use a little bit more popping off. So go give us a follow over there and let me know what you're thinking. That would be insane. Jay Anderson says, "Are you Stanley from Hustle?" I'm trying to be. I would love to even have the job that Stanley had in that movie. Just being a scout and traveling around the world watching. Lucky thing is I speak 3 languages already, so I'd have a pretty good chance of succeeding overseas if I needed to. Atlanta analyst says, "Funny story. I sent a job request for the Nuggets GM job, but they told me they weren't looking for any new guys to interview." Oh, bummer. You'll have to give me some insight on how you found that because if I get it in Atlanta, I'm gonna give you a call too. So you'll have to let me know. Ryan Hillier says, "Quick talk after this live." Yeah, I got you. For sure, Ryan. I for sure got you. I've got to respond here to on Twitter. Booze Radley says, "Really wish there was a team option on the second year of Gary Harris' contracts. Think the Magic make any trades this offseason?" Probably very little trades, if any, or very few trades, if any. More so look for them to maintain flexibility long term. I think. And focus on internal progression. Talking about the Orlando Magic, I think that's probably the most likely thing they'll do. Again, I respond to all of the Twitter mentions and DMs and everything, so go give us a follow on there. And it would be awesome just having this, having you guys follow us on Twitter, on my Instagram, all of that kind of stuff. Brian McLean says, what do the Hornets do now with Bridges? I think they're going to retain him probably and save some money doing so. So maybe not a bad outcome for them. Tommy Tukeen says Daryl Morey just picking all Houston players. Next he'll trade for Eric Gordon. Potentially, I wouldn't rule it out. I really wouldn't. He's crazy. I think the next player in line for Philly, though, is going to be Austin Rivers. I think, Doc's going to push for his kid. And I think Daryl Morey's going to say, well, heck, I like it. He played pretty good for me. Jay here with the comment, go to YouTube. Thank you, Jay, for that. Sheldon 2023 first overall pick. Huge shout out to you, Jay. You're too funny out here. I'm dying laughing on this end. So that's really funny, actually. Let's go ahead and see what the next comment is. Ronard says, thoughts on the Lakers signings today? They did good for what they have available to them. They don't have a ton of money. I think they did a good collection of moves. Toscano Anderson, not bad. I think Lonnie Walker was good. And I think Troy Brown Jr. was a really solid signing as well. Dylan Rademacher says, what do you think happens with TJ Warren? He's a hard player to predict. I think he signs a 1 year, $11 million deal. I'm just not sure where. I think it could be Indiana still. I think it could be Cleveland. I think it could be Sacramento. I think it could be a bunch of different teams looking to make an improvement to their forward spot. And he could be valuable, but we'll see what happens. Ryan here says, guys, show the man love. He's goated. I've been trying my best. Hopefully you guys did enjoy today's live stream. Again, we'll probably stay live here for just a couple more minutes. So if you have any last minute pressing questions, go ahead, throw them in there. Atlanta Analyst says, I'm waiting on this Hornets thing to fall apart. Their GM Mitch has been on the hot seat for a while, and I'll jump on it quick and call you to lead scouting department. Love it. Love it. Let's see if we can get that done. Aaron Christie says, do you think there is any chance Kevin Durant stays? Maybe for a little bit. Maybe he'll play a couple games. But he will not be with Brooklyn past the trade deadline this year. Math Learning says, can the Lakers get Kevin Durant? They could, but it's going to be difficult. Bucks and 6 says, bro, how are you still streaming? I don't know. My voice is dying. Honestly, I'm in a spot right now where I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to talk tomorrow. So we're going to have to see how that's all going. But I do appreciate each and every one of you. Again, huge thank you. I honestly, from the bottom of my heart, it means so much to have all your love and support. It's been awesome. Mayor Ortiz says, great stream. We've been here since forever. Yeah, you guys you've been awesome. Your boy JR says, can the Suns get Kevin Durant? They're favored right now. They definitely could. They're the team that I think I would want to watch out for the most. Seeing if Phoenix could potentially land him. Jaden Patel says, do you think Knicks are done and if they will re-sign Mitch Robinson? So they have his bird rights. They could keep him around over the cap, which would be a solid move for them. And Jay Crowder to Miami says, Jay Anderson, did something actually just happen? If something actually happened, I need to look into that. Jay Crowder to Miami wouldn't be bad. He obviously played there for a little bit, but he's played pretty much everywhere as well. So it's hard to find a place he hasn't played. And for the Knicks, I think they're still going to sniff around certain things, but I would lean against maybe Robinson staying, but it depends. Ryan Hillier says, bro, remember this. This guy's top tier. Show up next stream and watch these videos. I still got to check that Ron Harper vid. Definitely check out that Ron Harper vid, especially if you're a Raptors fan. It'll get you pretty excited, I'm pretty sure. Atlanta Analyst says, great stream, Sheldon. Hopefully you'll stream tomorrow, and I do want to talk with you about a few things. Atlanta Analyst, reach out on Twitter or Instagram. Oh, by the way, this is what my girlfriend also got me for my birthday the other day. She got me a bunch of other stuff too. I already showed that on a previous live stream. I didn't show this Luca phone case. I thought that this was absolutely drippy as heck. So I figured you guys deserve to see this as well. But Atlanta Analyst, make sure to reach out on either Instagram or Twitter. I know you gave us some follows, so reach out on there. I'll read what you got to say, and worst case, we can figure out a time to actually talk to about some certain stuff if you want. Jay Anderson says, if they don't get KD, I'm talking about, I'm not sure exactly who, but Jaden Pytel says, Rutgers fan, love my boy Ron. He's awesome. Ryan Hillier says, fire. Janderson says, great stream, brother. Awesome person and Warriors. Pistons in 7. We'll see. If Warriors and Pistons are playing in 7, well, that would be insane. Atlanta says, you need a Trey phone case, LOL. And we'll do, bro. Okay, great. Ryan Hillier says, W for Sheldon's girlfriend. She's an awesome human being, and I'm really lucky to have her. Monsters Inc. says, watch these since 10 a.m.-ish. Way to go, my dog. Monsters Inc. Huge shout out to you. Thank you so much. And Mary Ortiz with the W's in the chat, just like always. Thank you all so much. Again, huge thank yous. Really do appreciate all the love and support. Probably going to call the stream here. If something big happens tonight, we will pick back up. Okay, so don't worry about that. If something big happens, come right back here. We'll start something up right away. Okay, but otherwise, we'll talk later. Okay, thanks guys so much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy. Again, the plan is to stream tomorrow morning as well, so we'll see. Again, thanks so much. Hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Go check out some of our other videos. I have an NBA free agency guide up on the channel. I also have, my discussion on all 198 free agents. Those are worth watching. If you haven't already, go watch my big board. That way you can see what players your team drafted and if you want to have them on your team or not based on my board. Thanks again, and we'll catch you in the very next Utility Sports video.